afternoon
Oops.
and welcome to our ballot issue presentation this afternoon. Can everybody hear? Is everybody tuned in? Okie doke. I am Barbara Winery, and I am the Voter Service Co-Director for the State League of Women Voters, Colorado. And I have a lot of people helping me. I'm also, I'll say, I'm from Greeley-Weld County, and I'm the Voter Service Coordinator there. And I've been involved with voter service for quite a while. So it's an area I really love and enjoy working with, and feel it's really important for us to help people understand first that they need to vote, and secondly, they need to know what they're voting about. So that's our mission with this. I have a lot of people helping me with the ballot issues this year and last year, but I would like to introduce them. First, I'd like to introduce our action and advocacy team. And I'm going to have them introduce themselves and what their role is, if they're from a local league, where they're from, if that's applicable. So I'll start out with Kathy.
How about we start with Andrea?
Oh, we'll start with Andrea. Andrea Wilkins.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Wilkins. I'm the legislative liaison with the State League, and I'm happy to see so many people here tonight.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. Thank you for being with us too. Linda.
I believe Linda is out with the flu this evening.
Oh, no. Okay, who's taking her place? Do we know?
Andrea.
Andrea's. Gotcha.
Yeah, Kathy and I will be dividing up.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to know what to be prepared. Okay,
No
thank you. And I see Kathy's on board now, so.
Kathy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, we'll move on to the staff, and then we'll see. We'll pick up Kathy later. Go ahead, Beth.
I'm Beth Hendricks. I'm the Executive Director of the League of Women Voters of Colorado. Thank you for being here and for being interested in knowing what's on your ballot.
Katina.
Hi, I'm Katina Frierson. I am the Director of Communications and Development here at the State League.
Thank you. And Jane Dunk is the Director of Operations. Both Katina and Jane have helped us with the ballot issue development, and also with facilitating getting the ballot measures issue pamphlets out to you, and the information that our league members need to help educate other leaguers. So thank you for being here tonight to help us with our presentation. I think we also have a guest that's here. Is our guest here tonight yet?
Actually, Jane is here tonight.
Oh, Jane, well, help introduce yourself, please, so people get to know you.
Are you talking about me, Jane, or a different Jane?
You, Jane.
I'm Jane Dunk. I'm the operations director at the League of Women Voters of Colorado.
Thank you. She really makes things run behind the scenes. So thank you, Jane, and thanks for all your help and with the ballot issue orders. And we also have Erica Cervantes, who is going to join us from Hunger Free Colorado to help answer questions about the two of the ballot issues that we have this year. Before we get started, I just wanted to make some comments about the ballot issue pamphlets and materials that we produce every year as a state league. Since 1936, which is the last 89 years, the league has published a ballot issue pamphlet that's provided citizens with nonprofit factual information regarding state ballot issues that are found on the November ballot by Colorado voters. And I believe, Beth, how many people do you think take advantage of our materials?
Typically between 20 and 25% of Colorado's voters.
Right. So we really have built a following, and people trust us and the information we put out, and to help them better understand the ballot measures. And thank you, Beth. In 2023, we modified our traditional ballot issue booklet in part due to the costs we were encountering. We tried to be more environmentally sensitive with all the paper we were using, and probably a lot in due to the fact of the COVID situation. Um, Communications have changed, the use of technology has changed, and we're really trying to take advantage of that with our information and how you get it and where it is and how hopefully you can access it on a lot of different platforms. Also, the Blue Book has gotten to be a lot more understandable. They've made improvements over the years, and it doesn't seem like it's in a second language. Albeit, I still think we work really hard to make a easier way to understand the ballot measures when we put our information out and explain them. And also, we have that great staff of ours who are there to help us with the development, the production, and the distribution, and making it just easier and more efficient overall than we have in a long time. It wasn't just myself and a few volunteers helping. So it's a team effort. And last but not least, it's been a strong collaboration more than ever with the action and advocacy people because they're the ones who follow the legislation. They're the ones who do the research and analysis of the legal pieces and the ballot measures themselves and put it into a succinct summary so once again we can better understand that. And then the voter service team works in collaboration with them, making sure that our information is nonpartisan and it's easy to understand by everyone. So, and keeping that in mind, we will get started with our presentation. And I guess as we go along, if you have some questions, please put them in the chat. Or there might be some times when we have some breaks in the presentation and we have some time for questions. And I have a strong team around us that will help answer any questions that you might have. So, first of all, welcome to the League of Women Voters. Are you running a slideshow too?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We didn't quite coordinate that. I was ready to do it, but if you're going to do it, I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready for slide 2. Welcome to the League of Women Voters. For over 105 years, we have been empowering voters with nonpartisan information to perform informed voting. The League of Women Voters Colorado has published, and I already talked about that. But once again, this is in light of what our mission is. Certainly our role is empowering voters and in defending democracy, but we're working very strong on the first piece of empowering voters. Just to remind you that voting is people power, and we need to protect that now more than ever. Thanks for you for tuning to the League to make your voice heard this election. We're going to provide you some basic information on what the state ballot issues are, what they propose to do, and what you need to know. We'll also be providing additional resources for those who would like more in-depth analysis. First of all, we have some materials that we have available. Many of our leagues have these available and have put them in libraries around your area or are hosting ballot issue presentations. But we have produced a ballot issues pocket guide and an election resource postcard, as you can see on this slide. And the postcard is for you to use and also share with family and friends. At the end of the presentation, Katina is going to take you on a little tour of the website and show you where you can download these materials if you don't have them and print them out yourself. The card is meant to be evergreen that you can use year round. It really has important information of how, what you might need when you're voting or any resources you may need to go to if you run into any problems. Next, a really important resource that we make sure that we coordinate our information is the Blue Book, and I'm sure all of you are familiar with that and have used it on many occasions. But as you know, it includes information about the ballot measures themselves. It talks about impact statements for them. It refers to perhaps legislation if that's where the source of the ballot measure itself. It has access to an audiobook, so it has a lot of extra resources that you can go into that we may not have, but they provide you some links to, especially we don't anymore or any longer produce a list of opponents and proponents. At one time we did, and one time somebody was a proponent and dropped off the list, and it caused a lot of problems. But I will say within the Blue Book, there's a link there that you can use and follow through, and they do have a list on the Secretary of State's website of who the proponents and opponents are of the ballot measures. Although we don't cover the pros and cons, that is also a good resource for the pros and cons of the ballot measures themselves. Okay, next. This year we're lucky. It's easy peasy, as they say. We only have 2 state ballot issues as compared to 14 from last year, which was exhaustive. So hopefully this is a little bit easier. They are on the ballot because they were referred to by the state legislature. They're propositions, which means they change state statutes. They only have to be approved by a majority of the voters. And this year is for tax measures. Every other year, only tax measures are on the ballot. You know, there's a lot of initiatives out, but we'll probably be seeing, if they make their signatures, we'll probably be seeing them next year. But this year's, these are the only 2 issues that we need to address. Probably talked about, I just mentioned they are referred by the state legislature. Proposition LL is the first one. It's talking about retaining and spending state revenue that exceeded an estimate for the money they have collected to date. And we'll talk a little bit more about where FF came from and what that's about, and actually why both of these measures are on the ballot because of Tabor. And lastly, Proposition MM is going to talk a little bit more about increasing income tax for a certain group of people in order to support this Healthy Meals program. Here's what we're going to be talking about for each of the ballot measures. We're going to talk about what a yes means, or what if it passes, what if it fails, what does that mean, why is on the ballot, what may be some of the physical impacts, and not really going in depth, but just to call your attention to what is a physical impact all about, what kind of information does it give you, why is it important that you look at the physical impact of ballot measures, and then perhaps listing some additional resources if you want to do some more research yourself. Once again, we'll talk a little more in depth about what a vote yes vote means and a no vote means if it fails. And also we'll give you some information on what you need to know and a little bit more background about the ballot measure themselves, so you have a better understanding of what they're trying to accomplish. And at this time, I am going to turn it over to Andrea, who has great in-depth knowledge about Tabor. We're only going to talk about what Tabor means in terms of putting measures on the ballot, but I will let her explain that to you and give you some information about FF.
Thanks, Barb. Well, as Barb mentioned, there's a Tabor impact to both of the ballot measures this year, and understanding what they're intended to do and even why they're on the ballot in the first place is helped by a little bit of background on Tabor itself. So I want to just kind of touch on that. So we're kind of using that as our starting point. So the Taxpayer Bill of Rights is an amendment to the Colorado Constitution that was approved by the voters back in 1992. I think everybody here is probably pretty well familiar with it, but it is pretty far back in Colorado history now. So we do know that people that are newer residents of Colorado may not quite understand what it does and how it has such a significant impact on so many of the policy and fiscal decisions that are made in Colorado. But really the key point is that Tabor limits the amount of revenue that the state government can retain and spend. So any proposed tax increase or a request to retain tax generated revenue, those have to be approved by the voters. That is not a decision that the General Assembly or the governor or anybody other than the voters can make. So if the voters don't approve the request, the revenue can't be retained. and the state can't raise taxes to generate additional revenue. There needs to be an affirmative vote in both of those instances. So the ballot issues that are in question this year each deal with one of these circumstances. One, a request to retain revenue, and the other, a request to raise additional revenue to fund specific state services. Okay, and with that, let's move to the next slide. All right, and this one is also really kind of a little bit of background. It's helpful to know that the really kind of the impetus for what we're talking about today dates back to Proposition FF. Both the initiatives that we're considering in 2025 deal with the operation of the Healthy School Meals Program, which was created via Proposition FF, entitled the Healthy School Meals for All program. So prior to that, you know, school lunches were provided to those that qualified for free and reduced lunch. But with the advent of this program, there was an effort to provide meals across the board in public schools, regardless of financial eligibility. So Proposition FF was passed in 2022 with a 55% segment of the voting public voting in favor of establishing the program. It provides free meals to all students in Colorado's participating public schools. And it's paid for by increasing the taxes paid by high earning households, specifically those earning $300,000 or more annually. And that money is specifically generated through a cap on tax deductions that can be claimed by those specific households. So getting to 2025 and the ballot issues that are before us today, there's some funding adjustments that are being sought this year to ensure that the program is able to meet demand, which is bigger than what was anticipated when the program was implemented. So we need to figure out if we're going to continue to fund the program at its current scope, then there needs to be additional revenue coming into the program. And then there's also a question about retention of some revenue that's already been collected, which we'll get into a little more in just a second. But those two issues are really the focus of the 2025 ballot initiatives. And with that, I think I will turn it back to Barb.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrea. And I'll just say right now we'll get started with the two ballot propositions and talk to you about what they mean and what they do and anything else you might need to know that will help you make a good decision about your vote. So Kathy is going to talk to you a little bit about LL.
Proposition LL, excuse me, is the retention measure. So this allows the state to keep revenue that they've already collected that is more than what they estimated for Proposition FF. So we've already got the money, and Tabor requires voters to agree to let the state keep the money and apply it to the Healthy Meals program. You need to know a few things about the Healthy School Meals program, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. But Proposition LL was placed on the ballot by the legislature, and it passes with a majority vote. To qualify and opt in for the Healthy School Meals program, the schools must participate in the federal National School Lunch Program that receive federal funding. So Proposition LL and MM, the Healthy School Meals program, only applies to schools that already are in the federal National School Lunch Program. And in Colorado, that is public schools only, but not all public schools. And the Healthy School Meals program that was developed under Proposition MM had 4 elements to it. There was an element of providing free school meals, school lunches. There was an element of purchasing local homegrown products There was an element to provide higher wages for food nutrition personnel. And there was also an element to offer training, equipment, and technical assistance for more meals that would be prepared from scratch. As the program developed in the last, I don't know, 12 years, funding has only gone to reimburse schools for the school lunches. So those other three elements are not currently being funded. And Proposition LL, if it passes, requires 1 million of the 12.4 million to be used for those other three elements of the program. So let's go to the next slide. If Proposition LL passes, so this is if a majority of the voters vote yes on this proposition, the state will keep and spend $12.4 million in tax revenue that has already been collected. Now, currently under the program, the current taxes on households earning $300,000 or more is expected to go back to the original provision. But if Proposition LL passes, those taxpayers will still pay the current rate that they're paying depending on their deductions. And there's a limit on deductions for taxpayers earning $300,000 or more. Now, if this passes, there's also going to be money to include local food purchasing, employee wage increases, and technical assistance. So we want to go to the next slide. Now, if this provision does not pass, the state is going to have to refund the $12.4 million that they collected over the estimate for Proposition FF to the taxpayers earning $300,000 or more, since those are the people that paid that. And the deduction limits will change as scheduled, so those taxpayers will pay less taxes in their income tax. But this will also mean that less money will be available for school services, school meals, and the program will be reduced to serving meals only to underserved schools. Next slide. This is on the ballot because, as Andrea mentioned, the participation in this program, as well as the expenses, as everybody knows, food expenses have really gone up, to be able to continue to provide healthy school meals for students. The state will be able to retain the $12.4 million that they got in excess of the Proposition FF estimate. State revenue would increase by an estimated 6.8 million for this state budget year, but you have to remember that this state budget year is already halfway done. So this 6.8 million is only for the half year that's remaining for the budget year 2025 and 2026. The impact would also be $13.8 million in the budget year 2026-2027. If Proposition LL passes, the total revenue for the Healthy Meals program is expected to be $150 million. Now that's important because $150 million is required to continuing offering meals to all public schools. State spending will increase for the program by 33 million in 2025-2026 and 67 million in 2026-2027. So can we go to the next slide, please? If you'd like additional resources on this issue, please look at the Blue Book, and we're directing your attention to two specific provisions there. One is, what is the Healthy Meals for All program? And the second is, how does Proposition LL interact with Proposition MM, which is the expansion proposal that is also on the state budget, on the state ballot this year. Next slide.
Okay, thank you, Kathy, and I'll let Andrea help explain MM.
Sorry,
Andrea,
forgot to
are
take
you
myself
okay
off.
with this? Andrea, are you okay with this? I know you weren't.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I just forgot to take myself off mute.
Oh, okay.
So hang on just one second. Let me get to my note.
While you're doing that, I wanted to add something that we might have excluded, that in many cases, it's not just school lunch, it's breakfast. That's part of this program too. So I wanted to make sure to mention that that's the case. I know many of you know that, but we didn't have that in an original explanation, but wanted to clarify that.
All right, thank you, Barb. Okay, so MM is the expansion measure. Basically, the ballot issue that is asking voters to increase taxes, generate additional revenue to ensure that the program can keep operating at the scale that it currently is operating and doesn't need to be narrowed in scope. It's another referred measure that was placed on the ballot by the legislature. Similar to LL, it's a proposed statutory change that requires a simple majority to pass. Let's see, I've already covered that. So the Healthy School Meals for All program needs to have at least 150 million in funding from new resources to continue offering the meals in all public schools. That's to meet that current level of service that we've been talking about. And another important piece that was addressed during the special session is that MM also allows funding to be used to support the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, once the HSMA program is fully funded. So additional funding for SNAP, I think, as probably many people know, is needed as a result of program cuts that were made through the Federal Budget Reconciliation Act. And so as the state is looking to really kind of curb some of the food scarcity and making sure that families that might otherwise not continue to receive SNAP and might start to experience food insecurity, that the state is trying to step in here to fill some of the gaps in funding that exist via this expansion measure to drive more money to SNAP and ensure that as many eligible families as possible can continue to receive that resource. Again, I do want to emphasize that only will happen, that supplemental funding to SNAP is only going to occur if the Healthy School Meals for All program is fully funded. If the MM funds are used for SNAP, they'll go to SNAP implementation and outreach. And let's see if we could go to the next slide. So if MM is to pass, sorry, I am getting my notes messed up here. So if MM is to pass, state income taxes for households earning 300,000 or more will increase. Again, this is an expansion of the caps that essentially are going to be put on households for caps on deductions for households that are coming from that high income bracket of 300,000 or more annually. And that additional revenue will be used to fully fund free school meals to all public students. And it will also enable the implementation of previously approved local food purchasing, employee wages, and the technical assistance elements of the Healthy School Meals for All program. Again, additional surplus will be used to fund SNAP. And I think if we go to our next slide, we'll talk a little bit about what happens if it fails. If the measure is voted down, state income taxes for households earning 300,000 or more annually won't change, and they'll just kind of continue as they are currently. And the state will only be required to reimburse local school food authorities in school districts with the highest concentration of poverty. So we will be looking at a narrowing in the scope of the program and its reach. All right, so as far as why these measures are on the ballot, as we discussed previously, via Tabor, these, both of the questions that are being addressed here, both the retention of the revenue that's been saved or that's been already collected, and the effort to generate more revenue, are questions that must have voter approval. And so the state is looking to raise that additional 95 million that is needed to kind of carry the program forward in its current scope. In terms of the fiscal impact, the increases to state revenue are estimated to be a little over 50 million in tax year 25-26 and 103 million in tax year 26-27. It is important to keep in mind that only 95 million can be kept by the state unless there is an additional measure that is approved by voters to allocate additional funding to the program. And then, of course, we always refer you to the Blue Book for more information on the breakdown of how revenue is going to be spent on the different elements of the programs, local food purchasing, technical assistance, that sort of thing. The Blue Book is a really great source for diving in further into the details on that. And as far as additional resources, again, the Blue Book, we really kind of want to hammer that one because it's got, all of those breakdowns, plus additional information on SNAP, what the SNAP program does, how it is funded generally, and how the additional provisions of will benefit the SNAP program and kind of address some of the funding gap that is going to exist there once the HSMA program is fully funded.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrea. I think it's really important, especially with just to follow up and talk a little bit more about the Blue Book. It really has examples of how it increases taxes for those who are paying the taxes. The people are who earn $300,000 or more annually and above are the ones who are impacted. If you're not in that tax bracket and you're under $300,000, then there's no impact to you. I remember reading somewhere, and it might have been in the Blue Book information, but I think there was something in there. The impact there's about in terms of 6% of the voters are in that income bracket, or that would transfer or translate into 200,000 voters. So but to look and see just exactly what those raises are and how much they are and how relevant they may or may not be, that would be a good thing to look at. So overall, the resources we have looked at and accessed as far as doing our research are listed here. I know that we don't expect you to write these all down, but I will tell you that when we get to the end, I will have Katina show you where you can find the information that we've been talking about. on our website, and these are all listed there. There is on the Healthy School Meals program, that number 4 for all program FAQs as of July 2025. I found that to be most interesting if you want to really dig into the details of the program and who qualifies and how it's funded and so forth. But there's also, another side of this issue in terms of someone who has looked at doing analysis of the program and whether or not they think it's healthy or unhealthy for our state budget. But we put those in there if you would like to follow them up, and you're easily accessed on the website because we don't expect you to just to write those all down right now. Next slide. Oh, you're going to show one of them. Well, anyway, we're going to ask now, is there any questions either about LL or MM that or some clarifications that you might need? Either put your hand in the up, or somebody who can see everybody. Call on people, please.
Barb, Erica from Hunger Free Colorado is here, and she says that number 6 is not a great resource. Yes.
Okay.
And
All
Erica, if you'd like to jump in and talk about that, feel free.
Go ahead.
Yes, of course. Hi, folks. Thank you for your invitation. My name is Erica with Hunger Free Colorado, and yeah, would love to hear any and all questions and help answer them. In terms of that number 6 article, that publication, I think there's a graph on there, and I think we just, as a campaign team, analyzed the graph and didn't seem very factual, but
accurate.
But I would say that there's a lot of resources out there right now. Happy to share more as well. And yeah, would want to open it up for questions from anyone here.
Okay, and feel free to help us answer questions. We had some last time that we couldn't answer. So thank you, welcome for being here, and we're happy to have you. I see Cheryl. I don't know if this is the order people ask questions on, but Cheryl Powers. Can you unmute?
There. You said the beginning of the description for MM was that they were going to show how MM or LL related to MM, and I didn't get how if somebody can give me a brief answer to how does LL relate to MM?
That's upcoming.
Oh, there you go.
We just want to know if you're reading it, that might be a good place, but we're also going to talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like me to go to the next slide, Barb?
Are there any other questions?
There's a question on the chat, Barb.
Huh?
There's a question on the chat.
Oh, okay.
Does this set up ballot measures after the 2026-2027 school year for additional funding decisions by Colorado voters? And I think it does, especially MM, because only $95 million can be used under Proposition MM. So if they collect more than that, which they expect in 2026, 2027, they'll have to have another retention measure similar to what they're asking for in Proposition LL, because the state will have collected more money than they estimated in the Blue Book this year for Proposition MM.
Is that what you understand, Erica?
So because of the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, as you all know, during the first year of a program, we do have to go back and ask voters to retain those funds, which is what LL is asking, but we would not have to go back to voters after that.
Right, and the same with MM?
Yes, the same with MM. And just so folks know the relationship between those two, LL is the one that retains funding, MM is asking for additional funding, and putting those funds into a reserve to not just make the food free, but start to make it healthier, less processed, sourced from local farmers. So that's why they're both related to the Healthy School Meals program, but they both have slightly different functions.
Okay, so
Okay.
they wouldn't have to go back to the voters. Oh,
Right.
that's good to know. Sorry, I
Yeah.
made the wrong answer.
I don't know. Thanks for clarifying it, though. I know one of the questions previously was like, do you know how many schools are involved in the program now? Or I've seen estimates on how many students take advantage of it. Uh, how many schools or school districts are participating in the program?
So there's about 600,000 meals that are being served to students daily. And in the first year of the program, currently, we had 100% of qualifying districts opt in to participate. The only district in Colorado that did not opt in was Aspen School District. And the reason that they did not opt in is just because their school food authority works a little bit differently for them. But out of all the qualifying school districts, there was 100% opt-in. If these measures do not pass, to what you all were saying, we would have to go back to charging families for the school meals, and we expect that at that point, many districts would have to opt out because they would not be able to have the funding to ongoingly sustain the entire Healthy School Meals program with all those other aspects that I mentioned that don't just make the food free, but start to better that quality for the kids.
And I think I know there's another one I recall that people were talking. High schools take advantage of this program, but people were asking that the nature of high school students, and sometimes at the last minute they decide to go out to a nearby restaurant or fast food. How do they regulate? What students sign up for the programs if they're there to get it? What happens if they leave? How does that all work?
Yeah, of course. We've especially heard that, food waste is a big concern, right? We don't want to be wasteful. And so
Right.
schools are beginning to implement what we're calling share back tables, where kids are able, if they do go through the lunch line and they do take a meal, and there are pieces of that meal, for example, an apple or a milk that they don't want to have themselves, they could put it on the share back table for other students to be able to take. And so that's one piece, really trying to reduce the amount of waste and the amount of food available to the kids that do want it. And the other piece is with improving the quality of the meals and making them healthier. Districts would also be required to have student parent advisory committees. And those student parent advisory committees would advise the district on what kind of options the kids want to be seen served in their school lunch menu. And along with that, like what type of options are culturally relevant. So a quick example on that, Jefferson County has had a pilot program that is very similar at the local level to the statewide initiative. And this is the first year that they've implemented two recipes district wide. One of them is tacos de carnitas, which the students seem to really enjoy. And the other one is Venezuelan chicken and rice. And those were from two recipes that came from local community members that are now being cooked and served to the students district wide there.
Yeah, I was reading too that, and I listened to some of the hearing at the state legislature at the special session, that the technical assistance part is really to help the lunchroom people help develop recipes for foods if they're buying locally that they might not be used to preparing that, and also people to help them plan menus and healthy meal menus as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Barb.
Okay, thank you. Um, and I see a question here. Not all Denver measures are in our election guide this year. I I don't know. We just do state ballot measures at the league level, so the local leagues are responsible for doing ballot issue voter guides on local issues, where and
But
when.
I haven't heard anything about the white book missing things.
Okay,
But
I
that
don't know.
said, that doesn't mean that it's not true.
Okay. Number 6 is not accurate coverage. We'll look and see.
We already talked about that. We're good.
Oh, good. All right. Super. Okay, well, let's move on to the next slide. And it wasn't until we started reading all the materials that there is a relationship between both of these ballot measures and what can happen and what if one passes and the other doesn't. And it was a little confusing. The blue book has a nice chart talking about what happens if one fails and the other. But Katina was able to put together a flow chart, and it's for you to look at. I will have Kathy give her approach of how you might want to tackle this. But we laid out what are all the issues or the ballot pieces. FF is in place. FF will continue to be in place because it's passed. It's already there. It just depends upon funding and how much of the program they can fund. And that's why they want to retain money, and that's why they want to expand the the revenue that's coming into the program in order to fund it and sustain it. So we put some little quotes underneath each what happens just to give you a couple taglines of what would happen and if one fails and one passes. And it, but anyway, Kathy, I'll turn it over to you because I think you have an excellent strategy on how to read this. But I already had somebody tell me that it helped them make a decision. So it was worth that. But anyway, go ahead, Kathy, help us out.
Yeah, I think the first thing we have to think about is that there's only 4 possibilities. And the league believes that one of 2 things will happen. We believe that people will vote either both to pass Proposition LL and MM, or they'll vote no on both of them because they both concern funding for the Healthy School Meals program. And so if both of them pass, then the state will be able to keep the $12.4 million. This is down in the bottom, the green part on level 4. The state will be able to keep the $12.4 million that they raised in excess of the estimate for Proposition FF. And under Proposition LL, $1 million will be used for the other elements of the program, the local food source, the technical assistance, and the additional wages for food nutrition personnel. Now, if both of them pass, they'll also get $95 million more each year. And so the Healthy School Meals program will be fully funded. And there might be some additional money left over to cover SNAP benefits. Now, if they both fail, then the $12.4 million that is the subject of Proposition LL will be refunded to the taxpayers earning $300,000 or more. The Healthy School Meals for All program will be reduced to students in under-resourced areas. And the taxes for taxpayers earning over $300,000 or more will be reduced as they're supposed to under previously enacted legislation. So the question is, what happens if only one of them passes? Now, if only Proposition LL passes, then there still will be a Healthy School Meals program, but you won't have the extra $95 million. And you would still get $1 million for the local purchasing and technical assistance and the wage benefits, but that's not going to cover the whole thing. So you won't get the same amount of money for the Healthy School Meals program. But if only Proposition MM passes, then the program will be fully funded and any surplus will go to SNAP. But the deduction limits will be reduced will be reduced. I think I'm confusing myself now.
don't, it's one of those you can't think about too
Okay,
hard.
if only LL passes, the deductions will stay where they are right now. If only Proposition MM passes, the deduction limits will be reduced under the program that's already been established. Because Proposition LL lets the deductions. No, I'm sorry. I'm acting like an idiot here.
Somehow just keep it simple. Either, it's the worst case scenario is if they both fail. Best case scenario is if they both pass. And
And
there
if
are,
only one passes, the deductions get different.
right.
And we have the reference in the blue book. You see page 16 and page 17.
And I think if you really need concrete examples, and it's really good to look at those two references in the blue book. Are there any questions to clarify what we're talking about? See any? And finally, Eric, oh, there's one, Carol. Hi, Carol.
I'm still struggling with this notion. Erica answered what a household is, but I guess I'm trying to understand this. If a married couple is filing separately, then there's not this $300,000 for two people. So in other words, I'm trying to figure out, and people are loosely saying taxpayers, and they're loosely acting as though this is a couple and as though we all know what this is. And it strikes me that you could drive people to file separately. I mean, in other words, is this $150,000 for one person? The answer is no, right? It's $300,000 for whatever on a tax return is considered a household.
Yeah.
Do you see what my puzzling is? Because
Yeah.
I've heard this discussed many times, and people loosely say the taxpayer.
Uh-huh.
Is that one or two people?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm not your tax person. I don't know.
Yeah.
Andrew, can you help?
Yeah, I would say it's per household. So if, like you said, if there is one individual in a household and they make over $300,000 a year, that's an easy one to figure out. But if it's a couple and they are filing together and together they make over $300,000 a year, they're looking at a tax burden of $458.
Right. And I understand these dollars aren't a huge amount, but I'm just gonna say that, 150,000 itself is not an extraordinary income. It's not considered a high earner. It means you can afford to go to the grocery store still.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's changed over the years for sure, Carol.
Yeah. So and like I said, I hear people loosely talking about this, and again, it could drive people to file differently if it started. I think that should have been worked out better. Honestly, I do.
Okay.
What's modified gross income and so forth. Anyway, thanks.
We'll pass that on to the legislatures
Thanks.
next
Thanks.
time. But thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. Are there any more questions or comments? Okie doke. Well, moving right along, I'm just going to wrap things up and I will have Katina show you around. Usually at this point in the program, we remind people to vote on judges, but you're not voting on judges this year, so you don't need to worry about that. I hopefully by now you've received your local Tabor notices from your county. This is an example of what Weld County sends out. But I think what's also important in this booklet is the sample ballot. But I think everybody's got their ballots by now, so they know what they're voting on. But just a heads up, so you use those resources. Over the years, people have asked us, on our ballot issue presentations. As a voter service person, we can't tell you what where the league stands and what our positions are on league. But we do have a website now that talks about where the league stands, where our action and advocacy people have reviewed each of the ballot measures and looked at our positions and stances in our materials, our books at the national level and the state level, and made some decisions on whether they support, oppose, or don't take a position. So we're going to encourage you tonight to go to our website and check out where the league stands webpage. Always are encouraging you to use 411 as we have candidate information in our voter guide along with ballot issue guide information. Candidate forums are listed there so that you can watch them if you've missed them in your area. So there's a lot of good information on that website. And remember, your vote matters. It's more important today than ever that we get out, be informed, and vote. So with that, I will ask Katina to take us on a short tour of our state website so you can find these additional resources. Thank you very much for your attention tonight, and I'll turn it over to Katina.
Okay. Let me just get oriented just again. And I'm going to go through this very briefly because I know we are at the 6:30 mark right now, but I am going to just let you know that there's 3 paths basically to all of our election information. So you will be able to reach it through this button here. You'll also be able to reach it through our elections tab. And then it's also on our carousel here. So I'm just going to go to this button and you're going to arrive here at the overview basically of both the propositions here, LL and MM. This will take you basically back home. And as Barb just stated, this is where the league stands. So when you click on one of the measures, you will see the summary, what it does, what you need to know, background information, and what we went over in the presentation, what a yes or a no vote means. And then we're going to revisit the chart in case you need to take another look at that, depending on whether you want to vote for one or not the other, or both, or neither. So here's the resources that Barb said that these are active links. So everything that was listed in that slide is here, and we will take a look at this number 6 and be in touch and see if there's a better link that we can put there for you.
Or not put it there.
Or not put it there, exactly. Here's a link to the actual fiscal note here. And this is just background information. If you have ever wondered how the league takes a stance, this is where we get that information. This Impact on Issues is from LWVUS, and this is our Colorado version program of Study and Action, and this is our latest version. And then again, another path to where the league stands. So let's, this is Proposition LL. We'll go to Proposition MM, and you'll see this is exactly the same here, the exact same format, but this gives you an overview. So if you just want to look at what it does, if you want to find out what a yes or no vote means, but a lot of your whys will be in this section and also on where the league stands. Now, if you want to download our guide, this gives an overview of both. So this will take you to, let's let that hopefully come up. So this is an overview of both, our introduction, but this is a lot of what you're seeing on the site, but abbreviated and in a single format. So that's—
And they can download all this information in PDFs, right?
That's exactly right. So that's all. And then there's a Spanish version underneath as well. So let's go to where the league stands very quickly, and you'll see that it's set up really similarly. So this just shows where we get the information, and this was the introduction at the beginning about our Action and Advocacy Committee. It starts with the LAC, which is our Legislative Action Committee. Otherwise, these are the materials that were sent to you. This is an overview of the rationale behind each of the stances. This was actually mailed out to all the local leagues, and this is a postcard front and back that's also downloadable here, both in English and Spanish. And we will just take a quick peek at, here's Proposition LL, and our stances. We do support this, and we say why. and where we actually got that information to substantiate that rationale. So all of this information's here. Some of it is duplicated on both of the voter services side and our action and advocacy. But again, here's our quick reference guide again. And you will see the same thing for as well. So you can also download the ballot issue guide that we just saw on both of these pages too. And otherwise, I think the only other information, just in case you want something that's a bit quick, you can, excuse me, take a look at your voting resource. So you actually get this from our elections tab. So we were just here at 2025 ballot issues. Voting resources are here. So if you need a little bit more information and general information, we do have a video series here about the process of voting, registering, and now we, of course, are at voting, and then how to track your ballot. So if you are curious about that or need more information, that is on our voting resource page. And I think those are the main places you want to find all of your election information. So election 2025 ballot issues here will take you to LLMM. And I'm gonna probably leave it at that. What do you think, Barb?
That's good.
Okay, perfect.
So I'm just going to say, I see that Erica put her resources in from their campaign to pass these measures. They're right now, I think there's only one organization that's in support. I don't know that there's any opposition right now. But anyway, thank you very much for being with us this evening. We appreciate your attention and your questions. And go out, vote, take your neighbor with you. And also, if they need help with finding out more information about the ballot issues, please direct them to our resources at 411 and our website. So thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.